Hello, occultists. It's Richard Bigley. Occultae Veritatis has made me a host of their podcast. I will be bringing you more great episodes, like the one about my murderer uncles. However, we don't have a microphone for me, and our equipment is not able to handle another mic, so we are needing to upgrade our studio. We are asking for your help. Subscribe to our Patreon if you haven't already, or make a one-time gift at our GoFundMe page. For less than the cost of a piece of cum cake a day, you can help us continue to bring you quality weirdness, irreverence, and general darkness. Please give, and thank you for your support.
Warning, this podcast contains violence, sexuality, gore, and other horrible and disturbing things. Listener discretion is advised. Also, the hosts of this venture are ignorant dipshits, so please do not take anything they say as fact. And enjoy the show.
Now, are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then we'll begin.
Today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be.
The atoms in your left hand probably came from a different star than your right hand.
It is our basic human right to be forgotten.
A second plane now has crashed into the other tower of the World Trade Center.
Put chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
The defendant shall be incarcerated for the rest of her natural life with no possibility of parole.
You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men.
We were somewhere around Barstow, on the edge of the desert, when the drugs began to take hold.
Occultae Veritatis.
Hello, occultists. This is Richard Bigley with the podcast that skims the Wikipedia article so you don't have to read it.
Go fuck yourself.
And in studio with me today is interrupting
Sage Murray. Also, go fuck yourself forever.
And
Leon Filger with the sexy in-church-only radio voice.
Yes.
And
Ood Gal Afray.
And my special guest here,
Tia Thatcher.
Hello, everybody.
I feel
if I sound like I'm phoning this in and it's not all that great, that's probably because it isn't. This is the second time we're recording this episode, so
God damn it, Ood.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just kidding, I love you.
And Ood, why are we recording this the second time?
Because it came out really muffled and it just wasn't.
He picked the wrong microphone.
It's because we were recording with laptop microphones instead of the.
Let's not shame him. We're still
I don't
learning.
intend to shame him.
You leave Ood alone. He's hot and uncomfortable in the corner.
I am. I'm so sweaty,
He
guys.
is
A little
hot
sweaty he
and
is.
Do you want to pass him a Kleenex? Like grab one so we can just like dab his forehead real quick.
Yeah, give him a
please-
do.
I will dab
Please
too.
stab yourself.
Thank you.
I'm going to bring him like some
Okay.
blotting papers.
My kid, when I was getting my prescription for Ritalin, like literally at the pharmacy, he's just all of a sudden just like,
She just made that dab note.
he just dabbed out of nowhere while I was getting Ritalin. I was
Sweet.
like, what are you doing?
Dabs and drugs. Dabs
Sweet.
and drugs.
Yeah, dabs
We
and
need to
drugs.
do like an Occultae Veritatis like dab photo shoot or something.
in.
That'd be kinda
I'll do
fun.
whatever,
Go to
I
a
don't
bunch of
care.
different places
Yeah.
and like just sit there and dab and take
We're gonna do a
pictures.
deep dab.
Let's
for-
just do
Deep
it
dab?
in
A deep
Midtown
dab.
Plaza on the escalator.
Everyone already
Well, that
knows what I look
escalated
like.
quickly.
Oh my God.
I saw that meme you posted.
Come on, that's fucking hilarious.
That was a
That's fu-
punishment.
Okay,
that was-
let's do What's Your Poison?
So, what's your poison?
Today we have something that Leon brought us.
No, Leon did not bring it.
Leon did
Mr.
not bring
Sage
it.
Murray brought it.
Mr. Sage Murray.
bought it, but Leon brought it into the room.
Yeah, I did.
It is called Black Fly. It says vodka grapefruit on the side of it, and it's apparently made with real grapefruit juice. Bold taste without the sweetness, and
No
for
gluten.
those silly. Oh, you took the
silly
took,
celiacs, people.
yeah, you took that all out of my
I'm
thunder
sorry.
here, man.
There's no gluten in this beverage.
All right, so let's
that sweet.
crack it open.
I don't like grapefruit, so I don't think this is going to go well.
No, I think you'll probably hate it.
This officially interacts with my medications, and this is me not giving a fuck.
I love it.
That's actually good.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good.
Like, it's way better than that shitty Bud Light orange shit.
Yeah, this is kind of gross.
And then that Coors Slice shit.
In the comparison to that,
This
I
is
will
pretty
drink
good.
the black. I will drink the Black Fly.
Black Fly,
over-
definitely. If you're a grapefruit fan, have it. If you're not a grapefruit fan, probably don't.
They make a bunch of them, and if you want to get messed up, you drink those.
Okay, can I rate this?
Yeah.
I rate this. I lost my virginity in a sexual assault when I was 17 years
No!
old, and
Don't like
first
that.
had my meaningful sexual intercourse when I was 20 years old. That's what I rate out of it.
Jesus Christ.
That bad, eh?
Well, it's not that bad. Like the second time was so better than the first.
Oh, definitely.
I just like my only wish is that the second time could have been my first, and I just
Yeah.
didn't do it the first time.
Okay, well, let's just erase that one. Like, fuck it. That didn't happen because
one
it
of
was a
our-
sexual assault.
One of our previous guests was my second, which I choose to believe is my first. Yeah, it was about 15 seconds long and the most meaningful sexual experience in my life.
Kill, she's
yeah.
wonderful.
She is wonderful.
I love her.
And then we sang a duet and recorded it.
Okay.
Aw.
Yeah. I
Her
want
voice like gives me fucking goosebumps, and then
She's so good.
She's so good.
to bring her into the studio and sing a duet with her.
Oh my god, okay, I want do
Please
it.
Yep.
Do it. She's
Will you-
amazing.
We'll use it as
Amazing.
our palate cleanser.
Yes, she's amazing. I love her so much. Tell her like I just recently commented on one of her pictures that I like super missed her. So we'll see how that goes.
Back to Richard Bigley.
Oh, I'm here. Oh, wow. So I am. All right. So if you're interested in more of this Black Fly, their website appears to sound classy as fuck. www.blackflybooze.com.
Fuck yeah.
America.
Fancy smancy.
Fuck yeah.
All right. So I guess, how did you find it?
It's bad.
You're bad. Okay, give it to me. I'll drink
you're
it
not
tomorrow.
A grapefruit guy, you know?
I'm
I don't
like,
know.
I'll drink it.
I don't know. It doesn't agree with me. I don't know if I don't like grapefruit or I don't like vodka, but like it's not doing it for me. I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 10. I know.
Ooh.
Every time I turn over to look at Ood in the corner, I'm a little bit more concerned. I'm just like,
I know
are
you look
okay?
really
Like,
hot.
are
I'm
you
good.
okay?
I'm good. I'm a chronic sweater, and I sweat like mostly from my head. So like,
And like, you donated plasma today, so I'm just like, how much alcohol should you be drinking?
Would you like
I'm not-
some water?
It makes it cheaper for
I'm not
him
drinking
to get
much
drunk,
actually
though.
because I only drank a little bit of that
Should
can
you
because the rest is in the
eat
glass.
Something like that's a concern.
Oh, I've had a lot to eat. I had a 700 calorie protein shake.
Would you like some water?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay. Well, I like this this Black Fly. It's the fruit juice seems to really bring it out. It basically just tastes like grapefruit juice, but apparently I get drunk by drinking it. And there's only really a label around the neck of the bottle,
what she
perhaps to
said.
save
what they
save
said.
money on additional labeling. You know how it is.
Oh yes.
It
Gotta
kind
be
of looks
smart.
like the Calypso bottles, like the juice you get from like the gas
Oh
stations.
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
This is
yeah.
the alcoholic Calypso.
You're watching a video on YouTube, then you head to Amazon to buy your grandma's birthday present.
This internet browsing is taking place on a level of the internet called the surface web. But beneath it are many more layers of the internet in what's known as the deep web.
At the top of these layers are websites that can be accessed
But can't be found by doing a simple search on Google or Bing. Think online banking and government databases, pages that are password encrypted. But what if you keep going down? All the way to the bottom of the deep web. Well, here you'll find the dark web. Here, users can communicate through encrypted messages and can buy and sell anything with total anonymity. It's been called the Wild West of the internet because operating in the shadows are extremists, criminals, and trolls. But where did the dark web come from? And how does it work?
Firstly, the dark web is not a place, but a term that describes parts of the internet that hide your identity and location. The dark web's infrastructure was created in the 1970s, at the same time as the internet itself, but to utilize it, you needed darknet software. Enter the US Naval Research Lab, who created back in the early 2000s one of the first and still the most popular darknet software, Tor. It was created for a number of reasons, which included providing the US Navy's intelligence officers with the means to maneuver through the internet without being recognized or traced.
But to really give you an understanding of what the dark web is like, we need to explore it firsthand.
I I guess the internet can be thought of in kind of three quote-unquote layers. You got the surface internet called the clear web. Things from there can be accessed, just by any random public person doing a search with their web browser. It's indexed by search engines, Google or whatever, and it comes up that's surface web.
Mm-hmm.
You got the deep web, which is like not accessible to search engines. So like Kik, WhatsApp, messengers, sites that need like special logins to get to forums and things like that. That kind of content is called the deep web. Sometimes people refer to deep web with dark web. This is not accurate, but, bear with me here. And then you got the dark web, which is like websites and content that need like special software or a special configuration or something to access.
Child porn and murders?
Mm-hmm. Among it.
So they may use like dark networks or darknets to remain purposefully hidden from the general internet. Darknet was actually termed in the 1970s to refer to networks that were isolated from ARPANET, which is kind of like baby internet that used to be kind of a network of academic universities, government websites, and military. So ARPANET, cute little internet baby right here.
Yeah.
So some darknets include Tor, Freenet, and I2P. I don't have much experience with Freenet or I2P. They're kind of like peer-to-peer networks where users connect directly to other users over encrypted connections. The idea is to be anonymous and, to have freedom from censorship, that sort of thing. These networks all kind of formed in the early 2000s. Like when we were all in high school, so kind of formed, as a result of the time, I think, maybe like 9/11, China censorship, RIAA suing everybody on Napster, that sort of thing.
Made people a little paranoid, a little want to hide their stuff a little more.
Yeah, exactly. So probably one of the most well-known networks is Tor, which is kind of the focus of this episode. It's short for the Onion Router, TOR, Tor. It was first released in September of 2002. I've used this network. I've run nodes on the network, so I'm kind of the most comfortable sort of talking about it.
I downloaded that after we originally did this episode, and it is a delight.
Yeah, I can get American Netflix. It's great.
I can get American Netflix. Yeah. It's basically all I need.
It's a volunteer-run network made of about 7,000 volunteer nodes. So it's basically a guy says, I will donate my internet connection to this network. And they set up a computer, and then they just let people go wild with it and, run their traffic through the guy's internet connection to kind of obscure, everything.
What do one of these nodes look like? Like, I don't have I don't have a reference for it, really.
Well, I ran it on like probably about a 6-year-old Gateway laptop.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it's not, you don't need to have a whole lot to run it. It's just anything. You can actually set your phone up to run a node as well if you were so inclined.
And I have.
So basically the idea is to kind of disrupt surveillance and traffic analysis. So like, for example, Libsyn keeps track of what countries people download our podcast in.
Yeah.
So you would disrupt the traffic analysis. You can say, well, most of our users are US based, second.
Are you saying they are doing this to us? Because the majority of our hits are US.
Yeah, I did this, and I used a node from Singapore to download one of our episodes. So when you get that one Singapore guy on that episode, that was probably me.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah, so, if you want to track, kind of screw up that kind of metric, this is great for that shit.
Yeah. Sully our data.
Yes. So, it also, the bulk of the funding for Tor's development actually came from the U.S. federal government.
Fuck yeah.
Voice. The place of my origin, doing so well.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so it was run through the Office of Naval Research and DARPA, which is...
What does DARPA stand for?
I don't actually know. I think it's probably like Defense something.
NAMBLA.
But
National Marlon Brando Lookalike Association.
National Association of Man Boy Love.
Or National...
Or DARPA.
Marlon Brando Lookalike Association. It's a South Park episode.
the whole podcast.
Okay, I'm looking up DARPA. Okay, stop. You at it?
I done Googled.
DARPA. Government agency. Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. DARPA.
Yeah,
The
so-
end.
So it's kind of interesting that like the U.S. federal government would, fund the research and development of such a technology intended to kind of anonymize web traffic and whatnot. I don't know. Maybe they funded it to so they could launch their own attacks against rogue states or whatever. But as it is today, it is what it is today.
And this is in the midst of the Cold War, correct?
Well, just shortly thereafter of 9/11.
Oh, geez. Okay.
9/11.
Well, I mean, governments throughout history, including the American government, have been famous for throwing money at random things to see if they can get the strategic advantage. Look at our MK Ultra episode, or look at any of the Project Blank things that the CIA
Paperclip.
ran. Yeah. They'll throw money on, let's see if we can make psychic warriors in the government. So I think, a dark internet isn't that too far.
Well, I don't know. Deadpool was part of Project X, and so was Wolverine. So definitely governments will throw money behind anything.
Yeah, and Shield. Now that's some dark.
Shield.
That's
Hey, stop talking about comics, you nerd.
That's some dark state shit, man.
Out. Hard nerd. Get out.
Yeah.
So basically, how does Tor work? Well, let's say
How does Tor work?
I have a question for you, Richard Bigley.
Would you go fuck
5
yourself?
inches.
What font are you using?
Font?
Not
it is
sorry.
Courier New.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Why? You don't like my Courier? Would you prefer Comic Sans?
I would prefer Calibri.
I like Calibri.
Oh, fuck you.
It's now officially the most readable font.
I like Courier New because the text is not particularly high, but it is fairly wide in girth, which is great.
Me too.
Wide in girth is the name of my rock band.
But it's great because when the professor says you need to come up with a 8-page essay, well, it's not a word count, it's an 8-page essay, which means you can just write 6 pages in Times New Roman and then switch the font to Courier New, and because it's so much wider, it'll add an extra 2 pages to it, and that's how I do my episode.
I'm going to show
notes.
you my book, and you're going to look at it and be like, this is fucking madness. And it's all written in colorful gel pen.
Though if you want to piss off Leon Filger, write everything in Comic Sans.
Hold on.
I have to piss off everyone in general.
Wait. I have an important moment. This is the first time it's ever happened in Occultae Veritatis history. Arms up. Give us spirit fingers. Richard Bigley, you are officially a partner in Occultae Veritatis podcast.
I'm a partner.
You did it!
We were just discussing it in secret group chat.
We were discussing it in secret group chat.
So I figured as much because there's always, it's like a law of the internet where every group chat has a subgroup chat with the least annoying members. And
I am part of the subgroup chat.
I'm glad I'm part of the subgroup chat.
I'm not sure what the fuck that says about you.
Well, I'm probably one of the more annoying members of the broader group chat, which involves Mrs. Leon Filger and I believe Mr. Sage Murray as well.
Maybe.
And maybe 1 or 2 occasional people that we don't actually know are still there.
Dun, dun, dun. ...
Welcome.
Okay.
Because I gotta start fucking paying you now.
All right, you are on the core group chat.
Yay.
We can't talk shit about you behind your back anymore.
It's okay. I'll read through the history and I'll use it as, remember that time that Richard Bigley wanted to do this and he's like, fuck
I know
that
we're
guy.
pretty nice.
I've changed the name of the chat from Core 3 to Core 4.
Anywho, back to episode.
Oh, there's an
You're
episode.
fucking welcome.
Wow. For once she brings us back on track instead of derails us. That's fantastic.
You're so funny.
Okay, so how does this work? Well, let's say Richard Bigley wants to watch Legion on Brazilian Netflix. Now, Legion is not available on Canadian Netflix because Netflix is a bunch of corporate whores. So anyway, what I can do is I can connect to a Tor network using special software and tell it to pick an quote-unquote exit node from Brazil. So it creates a connection from me, my computer, to another computer called a node, and then another, and so on, and encrypts the traffic each time, and then finally sends my requests for data to Netflix from some voluntary computer in Brazil. So the request is encrypted 3 times while it travels along the network. So basically anybody along the way doesn't actually know that I've requested Legion from Netflix. It's kind of secret to them.
They think just some guy in Brazil requested Legion from
Yeah,
Netflix.
they just think some guy in Brazil's requested Legion from Netflix who also happens to have my account. So as far as being anonymous, it's probably not the best example, but it lets me appear to Netflix like I'm sitting in Brazil, and so it will serve to me the content that it has available to Brazilian users.
I'm gonna need to get used to this because The Office is leaving Canadian Netflix next year.
What?
Oh, I know, right?
I'm not. I'll be fucked if I'm paying for another streaming service.
Yeah.
Question for you, Richard. Do these Brazilian users shave everything or just have some parts of it?
Their butts.
They don't even shave. It's fucking waxed, my friend.
Oh wow,
Okay,
waxed.
I didn't know that.
It's a full Brazilian.
It's a full Brazilian.
And can
I thought they just said Brazilian like it meant a lot of people, like there was like 3 Brazilian people, and you're just like, holy shit, that's a lot of people.
I haven't run into a pubic hairstyle I haven't liked. Full bush or bare.
Oh no. Pubic hair.
You like bear?
Whoa.
Oh, okay, hold
Pubic hair I do not like is going down there and finding balled up toilet paper in the pubes. Tell me I'm wrong. Fucking tell me I'm wrong right now.
That's bad. That's bad.
Okay, there's a Richard Bigley stripper story about that. But
I think the best way I've ever heard described from an individual is like he tried to explain the way he likes his pubic hair, and I'm like, I made him say this in front of a group of friends of mine, and he's like, I don't like to floss when I eat. I'm like,
and see, that's why my personal philosophy on pubic hair is like the stuff on your junk and your upper pubis can stay, but shave your dick to the root at least.
Yeah, no offense. I don't like pulling
those mid shaft hairs are.
I don't like pulling hair out of like my braces.
Because I don't care. Like, honest to God, like I find hairs within a quarter inch of the tip, and those.
Steffi's like literally dying over here. Look at her.
Go.
Sorry,
baby Jesus.
So sorry.
Baby Jesus, and all your wisdom. Why didn't you give him mid shaft hairs? Come on now.
Why does pubes need to be that far up your dick?
Yeah.
Wait. There's what?
Mid shaft hair.
That's a thing.
Yeah, well, it's not a thing for me because I fucking take care of it regularly.
Ditto.
Kill, my husband's hairy as hell, and he doesn't have mid-shaft hair.
Well, it's because
I've
taking
never
care of it.
encountered that.
Because you're some weird fucked up freak.
It's Panda.
I will say though, I agree with Leon. I did the waxing once. I did the waxing once for a wedding because I was like, I don't know, I thought I was gonna get something out of the chat. And anyway, she got like the front butt done. First off,
front butt? Did you say
front part?
Well, in case you
husband and my son.
Front part. And she's like, we're not done. And I'm like, what do you mean we're not done? I've just cried into everything over this. And she's like, turn over. We're gonna do the back.
Wax my
asshole. Hold on. I have a question
wax.
here for Mr. Sage Murray, who's on the mic with you. Do you have a problem with mid-shaft hair? And if you do you shave it down to the base?
No.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, my husband is hairy as hell, but
it.
he doesn't have mid-shaft hair. Sorry, everyone knows the status of your dick hair now.
So basically, Netflix looks back at where the request came from. They just see a computer in Brazil, and any node kind of in between doesn't know where the internet or where the destination was going to be. So basically, the node will know who sent the data and where it was sent to, but it doesn't know what the data was.
What the node will know is the name of my new like 80s like Devo style band.
So I'm just more like, so the dark web, you can get things that aren't just like, I was under the premise because, welcome to social media. The dark web is not just for
murder and porn
and like people being shoved into barrels. Like you can do things like get Netflix.
Yes.
All right. Then.
Yeah, I guess so. You could do that.
Get what's it called? What's the thing that you told me to get?
Pan?
No. Orbot.
Get Orbot.
Yeah,
it's
for
I have
Android.
an Apple. I can't.
Android users get Orbot. If you're a Apple user, I have no idea who or
you get
what
fucked.
to get. Yeah, just get fucked. We'll just leave it at that. Apple.
I mean,
users.
it's been a real long dry spell, but continue.
All right. So basically, they don't know where they sent the data to. They don't know what was in the data or anything else. Generally, no logs are going to be kept of these connections, so nobody can look back and see what it was. I mean, I'm sure there's like hacks and tricks and stuff you can do to do that, but generally, you just try to not keep any records of nothing. So the nodes that the data travel through are kind of randomly selected. So, you may be used this time for some guy's traffic, but next time it'll be a completely separate path that they go through for their data. So basically, how to get on it, you go to torproject.org. There's a modified Firefox browser you can download called Tor Browser, which is probably the easiest way. You can also download Orbot, as I was saying, from the Google Play Store on your Android.
It's a delight.
Yeah.
Apple's, I have no idea what you do.
I'm glad that it's a Firefox extension because Google Chrome lately has become like an information sharing prick. So
exactly.
Explain.
Well, Google Chrome used to be a center of privacy, and it used to be able to, I guess, keep a lot of your information private. But now they came out with a new version. It's sharing a lot more of your information. It's sharing a lot more of what extensions you use and all that. So it's becoming kind of information shary as Google usually is.
Well, it's really fucked up because I'll Google something on my laptop at home and then I'll kind of start the same sort of inquiry at work, but then suddenly it'll ask the same question that I asked Google at home, and I'm like, whoa, that's too much fucking information going on. Like,
get out.
I don't need your shit.
Oh yeah, I search up I search up one mattress on any device, and all my other devices are like mattress.
Buy a mattress.
Yeah.
It's ending
because you broke the other one through hot, vigorous sex. Is that correct?
I think so. Yes, I would like to confirm that rumor. Yep.
Hot, vigorous sex people. This is why he broke his mattress.
Yep.
That is why he Googled mattress, and that is why they are now trying to sell him.
I didn't trip on
mattress.
the cat. It was through rough thrusting.
Rough thrusting.
Is this the name of my new Christian band?
So, anybody more interested, contact Ood Gallifrey at ovfeedback@gmail.com.
He loves rough thrusting.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm gentle, and I only speak German during.
Wait, hold on.
Natürlich.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
Lederhosen.
Yes.
Guten Tag.
And only the German I know, which is 3 words. It gets very repetitive. Put up with it.
What is it? What is your...
1, 2, 3.
So Tor hat ein anderes Feature. Es ist die top-level domain .onion. These servers... okay, now I've switched from speaking German to accent German, which is even worse.
This is a problem.
Yes. So anyway...
Super problem.
Tor has an additional feature. They have a .onion as a .level domain, which is how you got .org, .com, .ca, .whatever. They also have a .onion.
For a glorious 15 months.
Soviet Union.
That was another fact I posted up there, yeah.
Yeah, so they have hidden services operating within the Tor network. Instead of connecting to the broader internet, you just stay kind of tucked away inside the Tor network. You connect to a server that only accepts connections from inside the Tor network, and it's not publicly accessible. So this allows for the server and the user to both remain anonymous. People use this to host sites for commerce, messaging, email, whistleblowing, how-to guides, porn, etc.
Yeah.
Whistleblowing and
so
porn,
it's basically similar to the normal internet, except it's a little bit more secret.
It's slightly more anonymous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, however, with a certain degree of being anonymous, it does lend itself to some sort of black market trading. So I'll kind of talk about a few interesting use cases about this.
Yes.
So, first off, with regards to whistleblowing, it's called Secure Drop. And basically it allows whistleblowers and journalists to connect to each other. It is a software package that uses Tor, which gives the whistleblower a random code name, which then allows the user to send files directly to journalists and contact, and then the journalist can respond to the whistleblower directly using this built-in messaging system.
Right.
This platform is actually quite popular, and it's not legitimate or questionable. It's used by Forbes, Washington Post, The Guardian, Globe and Mail, New York Times,
Richard Bigley.
And Richard Bigley. So a lot of these sites, use Tor to get information for their stories and whistleblowing, services.
It makes sense because even on like even on the conventional internet, like even with the way YouTube indexes things and Google indexes things, like a lot of times things that are associated with violence, such as revolutions and protests, are often deleted and blacklisted from YouTube just for being associated with violence and controversial things. So it's good that you have kind of an underground network to be able to share that information, because a lot of the world wouldn't be able to find out about these things otherwise.
But YouTube will also leave up like white supremacy and hate speech.
Oh yeah, YouTube is a Nazi making machine, and we're going to go into that in a future episode.
And
yeah.
Daddy of Five.
Daddy of Five. That's all.
Daddy of Five.
Listen
We
to
already talked
Daddy
to-
of
well,
Five.
we did listen to that, but
Daddy of Five.
I'm next.
Yeah,
Listen to
it's
that
a
episode.
super fucked up episode.
It was a fucked up episode.
I'm
Okay.
trying to remember. I blazed through. Not that.
It's the guy who abused his kids for internet money.
Oh yes.
I listened to that episode literally like alone, like 9 hours drive north of L'Orange, like completely alone all the
With,
way
like,
the fuck up
nobody
north. And
there?
I was like, the whole time I was so mad.
I
It was
started-
awful.
but-
It was such a hard
As a
episode.
child abuse survivor, it was a very difficult episode
Yeah.
to listen to.
As a non-child abuse survivor, it was a
Though,
very difficult episode
I mean,
to listen to.
Sage Murray Jr. coming in kind of in the
Sucked.
episode was a great way to
Yeah.
kind of
Yes.
end it. Like it
Yep.
just, like it was like, how do you get out of this? Because like it's like there's no silver lining to this fucking shit, and then
Nope.
suddenly
Little
Sage
Sage.
Murray
The Sage Murray
Sage Murray Jr. shows up, and you're like, oh, there we go. There's our saving grace to make the episode awesome. And then he made us some Patreon stuff. So
Thank you
good
for
on
not
him.
beating your child.
Hey, no worries. I fucking love my child, and he's rad.
Yeah, I don't know. Even in the depths of like my break from reality, when I had my mental breakdown, like
I remember that.
the
I was
worst.
concerned.
Yeah, the worst I did was break a door. I'm like
you did.
even when I was bouncing, I never wanted to throw a punch. I just can't.
No. That's why I literally sat on your lap and snuggled you for a while.
Yeah, that was a bad day, and I appreciate you guys coming in. Yeah.
Love you so much, dude.
Yeah, I'm in a lot better place now. I'm on meds again.
You fucking are, yes. Hey,
Yeah.
and you're also on like correct meds.
Yeah, and I'm going to therapy. It's shitty free Christian therapy, but
Whatever.
But my
Take what you
therapist
can
doesn't
get.
bring up Jesus or whatever, so it's fine. Yeah, and like I'm still feeling the highs and the lows, but like the tide is easier to ride.
It's a first choice for dealing with bipolar disorder, and then as you become treatment resistant, they got bigger and bigger guns to treat you with.
Yeah.
But Epival is a starting point.
Okay.
Well, that's good. I'm super glad.
And
to
for
hear
a lot of people, it's completely effective at controlling bipolar mania. So that could be all you're ever on.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it's nice because like for those of you who don't know, I was on antidepressants before, and it prepared
Which
me.
fucked you.
It prepared me for the lows, but left me completely helpless for the highs.
No, it like made you worse for the highs.
Yeah.
SSRIs are completely unacceptable in the treatment of bipolar
Yes,
disorder.
like I am on SSRIs. I do not have bipolar.
Yeah.
But like that's fine for me, but not for you and not for Leon.
There's 4 stronger drugs than Epival that could help you if you have bipolar. So don't give up on this one treatment. There's a lot more that could help you.
Oh yeah, and with you guys by my side, I'm sure I'll be able to push forward and find mental clarity eventually.
I will
love
literally
you,
yell
Ood.
at you until you
Please
until
do.
you get mental clarity.
Please do. I need tough love sometimes.
And also I love you. You know that.
I love you too.
I love you, Ood.
I know where you live. I'm going to show up and be like, get in the car.
Please do. You have to visit my cat.
Do you remember when I showed up, when you showed up at Nest and I gave you a big ol' hug?
Yeah.
That hug was 100% valid.
Yeah.
I meant that hug deeply.
Yeah, I felt it. I felt it.
I mean every hug that I give you guys deeply. Sometimes I'm like, hi. Oh. You know, like my arms are like salad tongs.
No, I gave Ood a good, solid fucking back around hub.
Oh yeah. We
Hub.
held each other and just smelled each other's heat for a
We
bit. too.
did.
Good.
we
Yes.
did.
I like to hear that. And I'm also kind of bad that I wasn't there.
It was a good hug. It was one of my best.
Leon gives great hugs.
He does. Like
Fact.
when
Yeah.
he bestows hugs upon you, like they're like you like melt into his hug.
I like that phrase.
I don't fake hug.
Oh.
I want
I
someone to
also
hug
give
me
really
so
good
hard it
hugs.
cracks my back into place. That'd
Oh,
be nice.
yeah.
Please.
It's because I do the hug, a little bit of a slap, and then a rub on the
A
spine.
rub and just like like you permeate your warmth into them.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well,
And
one time Leon had a hug. Like we were at his grandfather's funeral, and he was crying, And, he just looked at me and I looked at him and I like stretched out my arms and he like fell into my arms and he hugged me because, your grandfather died. Like, it's a sad thing. It's
and you're a fucking
life-
great friend.
And I just held him and he cried and I just held him while he cried. And it was a very good bonding moment for us. I felt connected to him and he felt connected to me.
Oh, I love you.
And his family thinking, that he has no girlfriend, but there's this dude that he's hugging at the funeral. Thought some other things, but
I've been more of a girlfriend than that.
But
that was one of the most important hugs of my life.
Yes.
That sounds like a fucking awesome hug.
Or the Jack Layton hug was another one that I'll always remember
that was the best hug. We had just filed past Jack Layton's casket saying goodbye to him for the last time, and we spilled out into Nathan Phillips Square, both weeping like little bitches, and we embraced, and that was the most sincere hug of my life.
And we just held, and we just both of us just held each other and cried, and we were devastated and grieving.
Just completely let go.
And it was like, fuck, I don't know. I think more men need to be able to hug.
More men need to be able to hug. Okay, go and hug Mr. Sage Murray.
So now we're on the darknet on Tor. There are a lot of different types of darknets. Tor is one, there are many others. And the darknet is used in order to remain anonymous online. But unfortunately, it's also being used a lot by criminals because it guarantees their anonymity and their security and allows them to collaborate in a way that does not expose them. In terms of what is sold in the underground, right now we're looking at different types of drugs, which is one of the main businesses in the criminal underground in the darknet. We have fake identities, passports, IDs, driver's license. These help facilitate online fraud. Other things that we can see in the underground, counterfeit money, renting the services of hackers. But one of the biggest things that happens in the criminal underground is underground stores which sell goods and services as well, from fraud-related topics to weapons to jewelry to digital products and healthcare records, which is on the rise with criminals. Over 100 million records were stolen last year, so criminals are now looking into ways that they can monetize and gain access into these records to perform online fraud. We're now in an underground German forum where there's a lot of collaboration between criminals. There's one thing we have to keep in mind: money breaks all barriers. So criminals from all over the world cooperate and share information to run these attacks. If you are a European attacker and you are hacking a US account, you'd probably want to have somebody in the US helping you, and they do it very fast.
So the farmers market was another use case for the Tor network. Started out in 2006, but they had called it Atom Flowers. Basically connected buyers and sellers of illegal drugs. Ooh. Started out actually on the normal internet, but when this became available, or they learned of it, they moved it to a hidden service on the Tor network in 2010. Basically, it expanded and included additional things like customer service, guaranteed shipments, merchant screening. You know, it's kind of like the eBay, like everything you'd expect out of eBay or Amazon or whatever.
Yeah.
This site offered for your illegal drugs.
And since it's encrypted, anybody peering in to look who's sending who to what and what they're buying and how much they're paying for it and their addresses, all encrypted. You just see a string of random information.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of like what you'd expect, you know, from normal e-commerce sites. They renamed themselves to the Farmers Market at that time as well when they moved to the Tor network. The site had about 3,000 users. So the site allowed payments by cash, PayPal, Western Union, and several other payment methods. By 2012, there was about $2.5 million that had gone through the site in total.
Jesus. Oh boy.
And that's basically what brought it down. The site was shut down and its operators were arrested in 2012. This was a result of a DEA investigation called Operation Atom Bomb.
Oh.
You know, named after the old Atom Flowers site.
Of course, clearly that's what it was named after.
So anyway, the operators were discovered, but it wasn't by a failure of the Tor network, but it was by a failure of them to when they used their own emails and PayPal accounts and shit like that.
Well, fuck.
So, like, you know, when you buy a P.O. box and you say, oh, just drop your things off here, you drop your stuff off at this, like, drop-off site or this lockbox or whatever, or just email me at my name at, you know, whatever my ISP is, you aren't all that anonymous anymore.
Yeah.
Nope.
So the site was shut down, not because Tor failed, but because these people forgot how to be anonymous and secretive on the
You
internet.
always have
They were
an
getting,
damn it.
they were getting sloppy.
Getting sloppy.
Yeah.
Well,
Fatima.
yeah.
That's a Ukrainian way of saying sloppy.
Oh, Fatima?
Fatima.
Oh, Fatima.
That's also
They
an
will
Arabic
call you
name.
Fatima.
Yep.
That's what my Dito always said to me.
I've been on Fatima before.
Fatima.
I work
yeah.
with Fatima.
Okay.
She's
Well, that's
from the
like
Middle East.
that's Eastern. Yeah. Fatima.
Could be.
I don't know, but it's what my Ukrainian Dito said to my family. Fatima.
One of the other more popular sites is called Silk Road, and there's probably been
Heard
a
of that
lot
one.
written about that and whatever. The former Silk Road is basically the same sort of idea. People could buy and sell drugs online. The site started in February of 2011, and by October 2013 was shut down by the FBI.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to note that you can buy drugs on the normal surface internet if you know how to use Google. So
Yeah, you
I would like to
can.
point out that many of these surface internet sites have actually existed.
I mean, I never have bought drugs on the internet.
I've bought drugs on the internet.
Sorry.
Buddy
Drugs?
dot B.
Drugs? I don't think so.
on the
Biz.
internet?
Yeah.
What are drugs?
I tell you.
What are drugs?
I'm just high on Bible verses and sunshine.
So it's kind of interesting because like a lot of these like normal internet sites have existed well before Atom Flowers or Silk Road, but at the same time they actually still exist today, unlike Atom Flowers or Silk Road.
Yeah.
So like, maybe if you're trying to like hide something, the best place is in plain sight. Who knows? But yeah, basically a bunch of sites that still exist to these days, but these ones do not, and you do not need Tor to access these. So basically the process of mail order drugs is probably as old as the postal system and the use of drugs itself. At its peak, there were about 10,000 items for sale on Silk Road, 70% of which were drugs. The site prohibited sale of anything intended to harm or defraud, so like child porn, stolen credit card numbers, weapons, assassinations, etc. Not kosher on Silk Road. However, there were a lot of other sites that had opened up by then with a lot less restrictive terms.
Yep. Look, see our assassination episode.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
Okay, so like it all wasn't illegal stuff for sale. People also sold clothing and books and legal porn and such on Silk Road. Buyers would leave reviews on sellers' pages to help reduce the risk of a scammer. Basically, how the sales worked is that the buyer would obtain some Bitcoin. You could mine it. You could buy it. Bitcoin is kind of like fake internet money, unlike PayPal or credit cards.
My cousin used to mine it.
Yeah, it's hypothetically not traceable. So kind of like a digital cash. You know, I gave you $20 digitally. Nobody knows where that $20 has been, where it's going to go. That's that.
Well, it's like any other currency. Its value is based on its confidence. Like the only reason that we go around trading pieces of polymer around in Canada and say that it's worth something is because we all believe in it and the government regulates it. So
Exactly. I might do an interesting episode on Bitcoin one day. I got a
Please
buddy,
do.
I got
Yeah,
a buddy
do it,
who's
do it,
like
do
a Bitcoin millionaire. Like this guy has like not worked for years and he's paid rent and he's lived all over the country and shit, and
Oh my
he just
God.
because he bought Bitcoin when it was like $2 a Bitcoin.
That's the
I
dream.
made fun of him. I'm like, some guy took your like $16 and then ran off with it and you're a sucker.
I would've made
and
fun
then
of him
like
too.
20 years later it's like, well, fuck, I'm an idiot.
You're like, I could have made it big. I could
Should have invested in internet money.
That's
Son
why
of a
you-
Yep,
bitch.
fake internet money I should have invested in. But yeah, I think I'll have him as a guest one day because now he like lives in Saskatoon now.
invest and regret later.
Yeah, so anyway, you would basically send the Bitcoin to Silk Road, who would hold it until the transaction was finalized. Silk Road would then take their cut and then send the rest of the money to the seller. Seller would then take the Bitcoin and sell and exchange it for real money or buy other stuff on Silk Road or whatever else you do with Bitcoin. So basically, an estimated $15 million in transactions were made annually on Silk Road, and over 1.2 million transactions were done during the life of the site.
Christ.
Oh my god.
That's not really low key.
So like fucking like eBay, but like kind of a legitimate, you know?
That's the first few years of Amazon numbers. Christ.
Exactly. Like that's a lot of money and a lot of transactions and users and such.
And not for tampons and toilet paper, fucking drugs. Yeah.
Exactly.
Good for them.
So, like, on October 2nd, 2013, the site's owner, Ross Ulbricht, was arrested and at a branch of the San Francisco Public Library. This caused the price of Bitcoin to drop from about $140 US to about $120 US. Because if Silk Road doesn't exist, your Bitcoin is useless because you can't buy drugs with it.
Yeah.
That's kind of the rule for every money, though, isn't it? Like, if you can't buy drugs with the money, it's useless to everybody.
Well, it's like Germany going like, no euros involved. Yep, just bring your francs. Yeah, then the euro's gonna fall because you can't use euros in Germany anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Ulbricht was charged with money laundering, computer hacking, conspiracy to traffic narcotics, and 6 indictments for allegedly paying $730,000 to have 6 people killed.
Lord in heaven.
Oh shit.
However, the issues surrounding the murder plan seems to have kind of disappeared after a little bit more investigation, and he was not prosecuted for paying $730,000 to have 6 people killed.
Wait, did they prove he paid to have them killed?
No, that's why they dropped him, because there was apparently, it seemed like there was no evidence. They don't prosecute if there's no evidence.
Okay, because that's what I was in there processing. Like, so there's no proof that he actually paid to have them killed. And
You
if
can
they just
indict
happened to
somebody.
die-
You can incite somebody. You can indict somebody or whatever, but you still have to prove that they did this. And then if you don't prove it, then they don't bother prosecuting it. They don't charge.
And
you
an
with
indictment is basically just getting a group of people to agree, yeah, you might have a legal case.
Okay, because I sat there when you're like, well, no one can really trace the Bitcoin or where it's gone, where it's come from. So I'm like, if you paid for this, but you can't actually prove the person died due to foul play.
Yeah. It's like a pre-court thing. Like,
Yeah.
is it worth having a court case over this? Yes or no kind of thing.
And
Okay,
basically, they didn't prosecute it. There was like basically not enough to go on, so they just kind of dropped it because there was nothing there. FBI said that they had seized $28.5 million in Bitcoin. They sold a quarter of that for $18 million and kept the rest.
One thumb drive.
They sold a quarter of it and kept the rest. And now that is worth about $87 million. On February 4th, 2015, the jury convicted Ulbricht of 7 charges, including charges of engaging in a continuing criminal enterprise, narcotics trafficking, money laundering, and computer hacking.
The deep web became inhabited by people of all types who wanted to use this terrain for privacy.
Hundreds of thousands of users use the impossible-to-trace website which sells drugs, forged documents, and even hitmen. It's called the Silk Road.
It generated roughly $1.2 billion in sales.
February 5th, 2012, the Silk Road administrator made an announcement. Drumroll, please. My new name is Dread Pirate Roberts. This Dread Pirate Roberts, or DPR, was generally assumed to be the creator and owner of the site.
I guess I shouldn't generally say this kind of thing, but I really liked the Dread Pirate Roberts that I interviewed. I thought he was, a really super interesting guy with a really coherent philosophy.
What we're doing isn't about scoring drugs or sticking it to the man. It's about standing up for our rights as human beings and refusing to submit when we've done no wrong.
The secretive Dread Pirate Roberts was arrested in the most unlikely of places, this local public library in this San Francisco neighborhood.
All the drugs you could buy on the site, it's not the same exciting as catching the guy. It's an adrenaline rush.
FBI agent Tarbell and his cybercrime team had somehow located the Silk Road servers in Germany and Iceland. How these hidden servers were found has been a matter of controversy.
It does raise these issues of, can the government use essentially hacking techniques to dig up evidence on a criminal suspect? And if so, what kinds of warrant do they need? When the criminal complaint first appeared, it describes this 29-year-old kid named Ross Ulbricht. Not only do they say that he has run this billion-dollar-plus black market conspiracy, but then also there is outlined his plot to pay for the murders of a potential informant and a blackmailer.
The clean-cut entrepreneur was living a secret life as a digital drug lord. Ulbricht tried to execute a murder for hire, offering $150,000 to a would-be hitman.
What are you going to do over the next 20 years?
I want to have had a substantial positive impact on the future of humanity by that time.
It threw me for a loop. It was really not the Dread Pirate Roberts that I had ever imagined. Plenty of evidence suggests that he was involved in the Silk Road. They, after all, seized his laptop while he was logged in to the Silk Road. He was caught red-handed. But these two personalities, these two personas, do seem to be almost schizophrenic. It's so difficult to imagine that they are the same person. Then when the indictment finally came out, there were suddenly no charges around these murder for hire accusations. It seemed like this bait and switch, that the government had accused him in this almost informal way of murder, so that when he was charged with these non-violent crimes in the end, he would still be seen as a violent criminal.
The trial of Silk Road mastermind Ross Ulbricht concluded when the jury found him guilty on 7 different counts. Ulbricht faces a minimum of 30 years behind bars, but his defense plans to appeal this decision.
Is it a fair trial? No, I don't think so.
During its operation, there were a few Silk Road users who found themselves in legal trouble after authorities intercepted their packages from Silk Road transactions.
Uh-oh.
Because like when the mail goes to the post office and then it hits the machine the wrong way and the machine rips it open and your fucking meth falls out.
Oops.
What you gonna do, you know?
This doesn't look like Tic Tacs.
Exactly.
This is Leon shaking his head.
Famous last words. This doesn't look like Tic Tacs.
These don't look like candy.
Okay, fun story. Some of the residents in my nursing home are drug seeking, and they absolutely need to have drugs in order to eat, in order to get to sleep, in order. And in some cases, we feed them Tic Tacs and tell them it's whatever drug they think it is, and they go to sleep and they eat and they don't have behavioral
Oh,
problems.
that lovely placebo. Yeah.
You give them
It's
their Tic
evil, but it works.
It's evil, but it works.
But it kind of leads me sort of to a next
Dun-dun-dun.
point here, is that from a harm reduction standpoint, online drug vendors like Silk Road are probably better than the traditional drug trade.
Yeah.
Because like the site was centered on informed consumers.
Well, it's nerds, not
you
like
know,
fucking prostitute
Yeah.
gangs.
So like responsible vending, the available of
Not shaming prostitutes.
high quality products with like low risk of contamination, vendor tested products, trip reporting, feedback on the whole vending infrastructure. You sell a shitty product, you're going to get a shitty review, and then you're like SOL because no one's going to buy from you. You know.
So eventually people who were like using this to buy, they had to know what they were looking for when they were going in. They couldn't just be like walking and being like, I'm here to get a joint. And people are like, well, what do you want? And they're like,
I just want weed. And then they give you something cut with Coke or something, or like, it's, and it's great because like kind of everything's kind of done over the computer. So like buyers and sellers are like completely on different sides of the world if possibly.
Yeah. And there's feedback and reviews involved too. So if you sell shitty product, people are going to find out about it.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And, and this is also cool because it like reduces the possibility of violence and other crime related to the illegal drug market. You're not doing this in back alleys. You're doing it, one guy in China, one guy in Brazil. And, the two of them are never going to meet. They're never going to have a gun war, turf war, whatever, and so it reduces the violence and it reduces crime related to the drug trade, such as turf wars and gangs and theft and prostitution and that sort of thing.
Later.
So that's kind of what I have to say here about Silk Road. If you kind of flash back to episode 7, as you were kind of cutting in on my
7?
turf here.
Holy shit.
Contract killers.
Oh shit! That was a long fucking time ago.
Yeah, we kind of, I guess the 3 original hosts alluded to...
3 original hosts.
The OGs.
Fuck those guys.
The legacy hosts, if you will.
The legacy hosts, if you will.
Now that you've newly been...
Now that I've been minted as an OV pod host now,
I'll allow it.
Don't let it go to your head.
Oh, it's already there, my friend.
Do not.
It's already there. Been there, gone. He smells like Colgate. He's
Cops,
minted.
the cops are gonna like pull me over, and then they're gonna be like, I'll be like, do you know who I am?
And you'll
they'll
see
be
like tossing
no.
your hair and be like, I'm a host on
I'm a
OV
Richard
Pod.
fucking Bigley,
I'm Richard
my
fucking
friend.
Bigley.
I have a middle ground popular podcast on the internet. Excuse me, officer.
Well, if you quote my
I'm from
Twitter, it's
Saskatoon.
my
I have
handle on
300
Twitter describes
followers.
me as a third wheel host for a local podcast or something.
All I can
like
think about is like, don't you know it's against the law? And like he just pauses and looks at him and goes, I am the law.
Yep.
You're
That's
a fourth wheel host, by the way.
Oh.
Fourth wheel.
I am the...
This is a wagon.
Was I the third wheel? No, I don't think I was the third wheel.
They
I think
upgraded-
that Ood was the third wheel.
No, Ood wasn't the third wheel. We were all 3 wheels.
We were,
begin
yeah,
with.
okay. We
Yeah.
were all 3 wheels.
We were a
and then-
complicated wagon.
I'm the fourth
We were
wheel, so now they can
complicated.
all drive down the road in a Miata.
You guys
now.
upgraded from a tricycle to a wagon.
We did. We were a complicated wagon.
Yep.
And then we have upgraded.
We have upgraded.
Just
Aw,
today.
That's sweet.
On what day is it? July 24th, 2019. Let this day live in infamy.
And it shall. So yeah, back to like episode 7, contract killers.
That was so long.
Yeah,
I'm getting-
they were kind of alluding to this website. It's called the Assassination Market.
Oh boy.
The assassination market is a prediction market where a person would place a bet on the death of a given individual and then take a payout if they guessed guess in the correct date. And by guess, I put like in quotation marks. Basically,
Donald Trump didn't get killed, even though he was billed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we all bet on him. Like low key, like no stakes bet.
Oh, all I want for Christmas is a dead Trump.
Please remove the Cheeto from office. We didn't make good decisions.
Hey, we were not part of the we.
Yeah.
I mean, I did my
I
share.
voted NDP.
I just want to take Pence out too.
I did my share as
'cause-
an American citizen. I cast
Yeah.
my vote.
You did.
I did, and
for
I
you.
did not vote for Pim.
He's
Okay,
like
good.
Trump, except he has like past a 5th grade education. So
Maybe.
So basically, this system would incentivize the assassination of certain individuals. You know, the assassin would know when the killing would take place and would easily profit from the subject's death, you know, if they placed a bet on this pool. So, you know, enough people put money in and then you put your bet in and you are about to do it and you're going to do it. You know exactly when you're going to do it. You bet on that date. Boom, he's dead. And then suddenly you come into this big windfall of cash. Since the accuracy or since the payoff is for accurately picking the date rather than actually killing the person, it is much more difficult to prosecute criminal liability for this assassination.
I would say
saying,
there's
well,
no
I'm just
criminal. Yeah, I'm just like
I'm just guessing the date.
Yep.
They weren't paying me to kill him. I was
was a
just
very-
guessing the date,
Like,
and I just
literally
happened to
accident.
guess.
up at work. I guessed the date on when the ice would all be gone, and I lost by 1 day.
Well, there you go.
You know, like it's kind of the same thing.
It's all just like, there was a very well-timed accident.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
all this is.
Fuck yeah, well-timed accident.
So
the name of my Christian band.
It is 100% the name of your Christian band.
that's for when you get pregnant and you can't let Jesus kill the baby.
Oh God. Oh my God.
Basically, the assassination market boils down to you add a name to the list, you add money to the pot in the person's name, you predict when that person will die, and then the correct prediction collects the pot. There's kind of a
I love to
fifth-
collect pot.
Me too.
Woohoo.
Oh
Done
man,
that
I have
recently.
so much of it.
I like to collect
Me too, and it
pipes
was
and
all by
bongs.
accident.
It happens, doesn't it?
Dug out one hitter from work. Thank you, rich Americans.
Steffi's back. They're like, man, share.
Yeah, so the
All right, Bigley, let's finish this up and take
Let's
it
just
home.
wrap it up here.
I'm not sorry.
So there's also the fifth instruction that making your prediction come true is entirely optional. So some would accuse this site of crowdfunding assassinations. The site was eventually shut down in 2013, but it collected 180 Bitcoin, which was eventually cashed out in March of 2018 for $1.3 million. The Bitcoin
That's
value at the time that the site shut down would have been about $2,160 in 2013 when they shut down. And then it just kind of sat in this account like for nothing. And then suddenly in March 2018, the guy cashed out all of the Bitcoin that they collected and they got $1.3 million out of this assassination market.
Damn.
Didn't have to do a fucking thing. Didn't have
That's
to
a
kill
lot of moolah.
nobody.
Bravo.
Yeah. So smarter business people than me, for sure. Which, with this talk of the assassination market, leads me to my next question. How long does someone have to be dead until you're considered an archaeologist and not a grave robber?
Oh, 3.
3 days?
I don't know.
3 something.
3 months, 3 weeks.
At
3
least
years,
3.
At least 3.
3 decades.
And with that,
3.
I'm your host, Richard Bigley, and in studio with me today, I've got my guest.
Sage Murray, go fuck yourself.
Wow.
I just pointed to...
I'm second. I'm always second.
I pointed to...
Can't do it without being second.
I'm going to give her moment. Let her have just
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me have it.
Tia Thatcher.
Love you, Tia.
In studio, I have Tia Thatcher and...
Leon Filger.
Ood Gallifrey.
And finally...
Sage Murray.
There we go. Good night or day or evening or weekend or whatever your time you're listening to this podcast.
You may be listening to it on a Sunday if you downloaded it first.
Yeah.
All right, good night.
Good night.
Cheers.
Love you. Bye.
Lock the door.
Don't hurt snakes.
Don't hurt snakes.
Oh, boy.
Alrighty, that concludes Richard Bigley, aka the brand new 4th host of Occultae Veritatis' 2nd episode, all about the dark web. Wasn't that fun? Now, to play us out, here is 5 Sisters by the Ray Elliott Band. See you all in the after show.
Five sisters at my front door, watch the moon put Saskatoon to sleep. I hear the sound of traffic and sirens on K22nd Street. I live on the west side, you live on the east. Do your thoughts ever go across the river to how things used to be? Ferris wheel and the merry-go-round, we can ride it for days. Sort it out in your head and your heart. At times it's one and the same. Oh, but change is changing me. I'm trying to work on my ways. The Ferris wheel and the merry-go-round. At times it's one and the same. Open cedar at my front door, watch the moon put Saskatoon to sleep. There's no traffic and there's no sirens on Temperance Street. I live on the west side and you live on the east. Do your thoughts ever go across the river to how things used to be? Ferris wheel and the merry-go-round, we can ride it for days. Sort it out in your head and your heart. At times it's one and the same. Oh, but change is changing me. I'm trying
boy, I love those slow jams. Beautiful. Now, palate cleanser this week is nice and simple. Here is Ice D, aka Dennis Rimmer, aka the host of another podcast that we love. So, here's an ad for it, and his voice may sound familiar because he's the very same gentleman that did our disclaimer that you hear each and every episode. So, here he is.
Warning, the hosts of this podcast are ignorant dipshits who nevertheless have authorized the following message. Hi, this is Dennis Rimmer, host of Talking Books and Stuff, and so far, I've interviewed myself, which was a very good one, Joy Fielding, Meg Tilley, Alan Bradley, Maureen Haddock, Alan Keller, Anthony Badalka, Kelly Rudy, Valdi, Brian Cox, Joanne Paulson, writing as J.C. Paulson, Elaine Vietz, Kamal Dillon, and of course, Gail Bowen. Catch all of these episodes on Talking Books and Stuff, available on Spotify and all the usual podcast outlets. That's www.talkingbooks.tk. TalkingBooks.tk.